Hey guys, Abby here. We're just gonna put a little disclaimer before this one because I don't want it taken out of context that I take abusive relationships very seriously. I dealt with that. It's not a fun time. It does happen to men. But in the case of this story, it is woman being treated a certain kind of way thing. I don't know why I need to say that, but I do. So in no way, shape, or form am I saying that men can't also go through things. I love men. I think you're pretty great. Somebody else's abuse is not better or worse than another's. I'm not saying that every single person on the internet is like some filthy misogynist incel asshole, okay? Why as a society are we so ingrained and taught, even women and men both, little girls and boys both, that making fun of or putting down or critiquing harsher things that little girls specifically or young women enjoy? Taylor Swift, Sailor Moon, you see Frozen parodies and skits on SNL. Like, as a society, we are told to make fun of or critique harsher things that women like, enjoy, or are female-led or are a thing. Britney Spears, this happens all the time. And unless you notice it, you might just not realize it. I realized I was doing it without even knowing it. And that's some internal misogyny going on. And you have to realize it. Now, if you don't agree with me, that's okay. And if you disliked it, that's okay. If you didn't like this, that's okay. But don't let it be for a stupid reason. Maybe think, am I critiquing this harsher because women are in it and we're taught to do that forever? I'm not saying you're all asshole incels at all. I'm saying that as a society, we all think a certain kind of way, maybe. Because we're taught to. But maybe just take a step back and go, I'm not an ass, so am I judging this way too harshly? But that's all I ask. Ask yourself, maybe I am doing that, or think about it even. You don't have to agree with me, you don't have to say that's a thing. You can say I'm totally wrong, but at least open your mind to it. And if not, like I said, welcome to the show, asshole. Then you're just a piece of shit. With that being said, let's get into some thoughts I had right after the episode, and then get right into the review. My outfits are probably going to change, and everything's going to change around me, because I just want to get some thoughts out before I sit back and rewatch the episode. I liked this finale. I'm going to say it. I think it goes Season 1, obviously, Season 4, Season 3, Season 2, in order of best to worst, and most entertaining to least entertaining. I'm on OF, I'm on TikTok, I'm on all the things down below. Hi to all new subscribers, welcome. If you were on the live streams, oh my god, thank you guys so much. We had so much fun doing that. We really are going to miss it. Please like the video, it really helps me out a lot. And what I'm about to say, I do this because it's fun for all of us to talk about. Film is my first love, yes, but I love talking about this in theory crafting. It's fun for all of us to do, and we can all do it and like stuff. That's fine. But I'm going to hit you guys with some quotes. And it's crazy that they're from Season 1. It's nutso, right? So people are getting all pissy about certain things, and we'll get into those in a minute. The spirituality or other side of it or other world or whatever it is. Didn't Rust Cole set that up in Season 1? Nobody had an issue with it then. I can feel my daughter. I can feel my father. I can feel them there. I could have just let go and went with them, Marty. This is the whole point of his character. He learns that he needs people with him and that love matters. But he explicitly says, right to the audience, there's another side. It's not what we think, but there's another side. Weird how he set that up. And then we continue those themes in this season. It seems to be an issue for everybody. But Season 1 is Jesus Christ, but Season 4 having the exact same things in it is a problem. Here's a really great quote. This is a world where nothing is solved. Who said that? Rust Cole? Did Rust Cole say that? Crazy, huh? Because here's the thing with True Detective. No matter what season we're in, the case that they get in the first episode is solved. We'll get into some things that irked me about this finale and what I think went down here, even with like production and behind the scenes, but there were some issues. But this was good. This was good. Nobody explicitly talks about Carcosa or what it is. They are talking straight mumbo-jumbo at the scene when they set up the area to make it look like a firefight happened, and Marty blows that dude's head off. The meth cookers. It's great, but also, they are talking straight gibberish. Childress, we don't know if he's talking straight gibberish or not. We don't know. The supernatural shit has been set up since the very opening of Season 1 with a ritualistic killing in a field. Somebody believes in some type of something coming from this. So these things have been there. But nobody ever sat down and went, Carcosa is this, in any medium it's in the Yellow King, in this. Nobody has ever sat down and went, this is exactly what it is, where it comes from, and yada, yada, yada. We talked about this in extent on the channel, in all my reviews, how I think this symbol was passed down and it was once a positive thing, and now it's being used in a nefarious way, in a negative way by others. Kind of like the way Norse runes and stuff are taken and used by gross white supremacist groups. It's a thing, but it's never said in Season 1, so why aren't you coming at Season 1 all hard? Weird. And then this is my favorite comment I got, and if you've been over here, you know we've talked about this extensively. How this show is not about being a cop. It never was. Rust says that several times, that the hooker shouldn't trust him because she says, you're dangerous, you're making me nervous, and he goes, I should make you nervous, I am dangerous, I'm police. This is never about being a good cop. Being a true detective in this world, in this sense, is about, will you stand and do the right thing no matter what, no matter the cause, whether you're a cop with a badge or not. Marty and Rust ain't carrying badges when they go back, right? Marty's a PI and Rust is just finding the case. They're not even cops in it, but somebody had the audacity to leave a comment on the live stream post that said, these two in this season were the worst cops ever. And I was like, well, good, because it's not about being a cop. It's about how the rules in the system kind of impede, and the bureaucracy impede what could be helping people for the greater good no matter what. and we'll take it into our own hands. Kind of, it's crazy. Kind of like how Marty and Rust blow that dude's head off at the meth lab place. Kind of how Rust looks him dead in his shit and says, quick, get the cuffs off, and before the blood settles. This was the right thing to fucking do. There ain't no rehabilitating a mad dog. You put them the fuck down. And that's what they did. And they did the right thing. And Pete put his dad down because it was the right thing. Being a true detective has nothing to do with being a cop. It has to do with, are you going to do the right thing no matter what? Are you a cop, have a badge, or not? Are you going to stand and be true? And I'll let you guys guess if our characters did that in this. Pete. Pete? King Pete. Oh my God, Pete. I told you guys he wasn't bad. But, Pete, you sweet angel from above. You cycle-breaking king. We stan Pete. But before we keep going, HBO, you guys in the next 48 hours are, and right now it's 1:30 a.m., so what, like it aired like 4 hours ago? So I'm giving you max 2 days, but you guys need to come out with a statement saying whether or not we are continuing with this show next season connected to this, or like in some way drop a nugget of information if that's happening, because you set up way too much for us to go, there's no way they're not coming back. Like, I really thought Rose was going to turn to Pete and say, you remind me of my son. And remember that Rust's uncle is still running around up there. Who do you think's feeding Rust information, or if anybody is? And I really think if they continue with this, Rose is definitely Rust's mom. And he was lying to keep her safe from cartels and all the other crazy shit he was doing. I think the one that we're most like secretly upset about is we didn't find out who the catfish was. But I think we think it's Danvers, right? She was playing the long game fucking with this town and these people, rightfully so. I'll bang all your husbands, I'll touch all their dicks, I'll piss you all off to make you all think that I feel a certain kind of way and make you all hate me. And guess what? I hate all of you too, because I know something bad's going on in this town. But yeah, no, I'd be catfishing you, taking your money, playing all of you, touching all your husbands. Man, I'd be playing the long game too if I thought you guys had something to do with my husband and my son's death, which maybe they didn't. They didn't explicitly say that either in this, but it was more about facing your trauma and facing that shit and saying goodbye, and how death is a natural thing. Wanting to stay alive forever is unnatural. Trying to find the organism that's been alive forever to make it medicines that will keep us alive forever is not natural. Do you want to know who does that? Villains. Sauron does that. Voldemort does that. It's not something that you should want to pursue. And I thought this handled certain themes beautifully. Now, can we finally get into the episode? I didn't know I had to make warnings for babies. Oh, we've been saying from the beginning, all this otherworldly stuff is a metaphor or a thing for female intuition. And then in the very beginning when we have Navarro saying, you can feel it, right? You can hear it, right? And she's like, what? This was so claustrophobic and creepy. Loved it. The tension building in this episode was done so well. Like I was saying before with season 1, it's just enough parallels that you go, okay, I see this, but then it's not a carbon copy, and I like it. Where in the beginning of the finale episode in the first season, we have them going into this windy, creepy labyrinth in Louisiana. Here, we have them going into this windy, creepy ice cave labyrinth in this, and I liked how quickly we moved through that. And it was like, bing, bang, boom, here we go, now we're at Salal. And we find out that Clark's been running around down there. My notes literally say, the fall, and down goes Frasier. My mom, who's 65, said this, and it's true. I take the word friend and friendship very seriously. And Nicole on my live, I love her to death. She's my best friend. She's my family. But she said something really great and she said, Abby, you can't pick your family, but you can choose your friends. And that's who you're choosing to be around. And that's important in life. And Jorah Mormont has a great quote in Game of Thrones where he says, nobody in this world can get by without help. Everybody needs friends. You know, like that's a noble thing to be. And my mom said that out of nowhere in the beginning of this yesterday. She goes, you know, I love seeing these two women have each other's backs and be friends. Because we don't get that as women very often. We're often told to tear each other down and to separate and to click up. We are told to tear each other down from a very young age. That is what's socially acceptable. So when we see these things, and in movies like Fried Green Tomatoes, which that's arguable a romantic thing, but also like Steel Magnolias, these movies withstand the test of time in generations because, no offense to you, and I didn't realize I was going to have to keep saying that because I didn't want to hurt people's feelings, but men, you guys have tons of stuff about friendship, about buddies, about everything, and we don't have tons of that, especially with older adult women. It's always their daughter, their sister, their mom, or you know, that's always the relationship, or it's never just friends. Or it rarely is, and that's why those movies withstand generations, because we don't have many of them of adult, grown women, especially at Jodie Foster's age specifically, being shown to have that in media. We don't, and men get it all the time. And my mom, like I said, she's 65, and she's saying how much she appreciates seeing that on screen. I did too. But the greatest depiction of friendship in this was when Navarro falls through, and then she's like, I shouldn't have done whatever, and then Jodie Foster just goes, shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up. And then her fall, I was like, damn, jeez, whoa. Jodie Foster, for your age, I don't want you falling from that height. You see the Carcosa symbol in the bones? Now, I don't mean to be mean, but I think a lot of people are stupid idiots. I really do. No offense to that. Or like film and shit isn't your thing. This is HBO, everybody, you should have known, doing this avant-garde thing with like these themes, these it was going to trip people up. People freaked about the end of Sopranos when that's a great ending for that. Fundamentally, do I love it? No. Is it great for it? Yeah, because Tony's anxious and anxiety-ridden and doesn't know what's around each turn and doesn't know who he can trust, and it ends that way with us in suspense going, is somebody going to come around the corner? Is somebody going to get him? And it's like, that's how Tony Soprano's living in that moment, and it's continuing to. Whether he gets whacked there or doesn't, he's in that constant state of anxiety, fear, and self-preservation. And that's how you feel when it ends. But you have to be abstract in your thinking to get that across. Like I said, do I love the Sopranos ending? No. I would like something different, but I get it. Whether or not you like something doesn't mean you have to turn off your brain to going, that actually makes sense. Be smart. Or at least if you want to get into the arena of like people who love film and want to discuss the medium of film, at least know what the shit you're talking about. Just saying. At least know basic fundamentals before you say stupid shit. You're not stupid people, rethink. Just take a step back, because sometimes you're too close because you're enjoying something and then you're like, wait. No, that doesn't work. Do you have to like it? No. Can you learn and go, there's a way things are written and there's a formula to it? Yes. Does not mean you're dumb. It means maybe if you're really loving something and you really like watching good shows and movies, I don't know, listen to a 5-minute video about screenwriting or an arc of a character. You want to get into the arena of let me debate with somebody who does know that shit. I'm not going to walk into NASA and argue with them about going to Mars. I don't know what the shit I'm talking about. But I bring up the Sopranos thing because I'm like, these are abstract ideas we're going with here when I say certain things. Twist and shout. I don't think there's a definitive meaning for that. I think it was something that was close to Jodie Foster and her son and was playing in the background of that memory and triggers her a bit. But also, twist and shout, like I said in my very first review, outside of the Beatles, it's a very negative connotation. Like if you apply it to murder, twist and shout, your body's twisting and shouting out on the ice. And Nicole and I were confused. We were like, wait, how did the music come on? I was like, oh, because the power keeps glitching. That's what keeps turning that on. So, that's what I mean when I bring up this Carcosa symbol in the bones. I've been saying I think this is a very old symbolism. I think that it's probably been used for positive things and now got turned into a negative thing, kind of like the way the Third Reich and other people even now use Norse runes as a nasty white supremacist thing, and it's like that doesn't come from... You're twisting something that had an original good purpose or positive purpose. We never got exactly what Carcosa was even in Season 1, so chill on that. Just know it's there. Just know it's a thing. Just know it's looked out for. I don't know where the bonefish shaped in a spiral came from. I don't know, because the screen didn't say it to me with words for my ears to hear or for my eyeballs to see. So I don't know as much with you guys. I'm just saying my abstract idea with film is telling me, yeah, it's there. It's a part of it, but it was never a fundamental part. Finding out who killed Annie K was the fundamental part. Just like how finding out who killed Dora Lang was the fundamental part. Nobody's death or nobody's anything is worse than the others. Whether you're a prostitute or a junkie, whether you're this or you're that, everybody deserves to have justice for that, even if there's a huge network of other shit going on. That's what they're saying. Dora Lang deserves to have her shit solved. Annie K deserves to have her shit solved, and we did those things. My notes also say put some goddamn shoes on, Clark, because that was really irritating me. You never even threw some socks on? We cut to Pete in the shower, and he's washing off his dad's blood, and there's a lot of symbolic stuff going on here. The blood of the father, all that crap. But he's literally washing it off, and the way these companies, I'm like, because there's a way to use things and not get hit for copyright as long as you're not like doing whatever, and that's what I want to know about Tinder. Did they know their name was going to get dropped? Because this is the one show you probably don't want to, you're probably like, awesome, that's a great show, that's a huge show. Wait, isn't that about lady murder? Shit. That's kind of, so I'm like, was there a CEO from Tinder panicking on a couch one night when he heard that? And then when they showed the 409 bottle with Pete, I was like, damn, 409, did you want to be connected to blood cleanup or what? But it's very prominent. It's very prominent. But you guys like this? Nicole said this. Well, kind of. We said it about moving bodies right here. I love it when cops do the right thing. Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
I don't care if they murder and move bodies. Do the right fucking thing. Oh, my God. No, that was great.
Don't move Annie K's body, but you can move Hank's.
I will.
Do the right thing.
Right. No. What I've been saying with the flip side of the coin here, there's always this and then there's that. There's good and there's bad. Got it. Cause a wheel. It all comes around eventually. The way Hank moved a body, like Annie K, in this nasty, gross way to help a murder happen, Pete is now moving your body, asshole. You both moved bodies involving the same situation, but one of you did it for the right reasons, Pete, and one of you did them for the wrong reasons, Hank. And that's why good is still standing and bad is not. Pete and Leah together, I really loved that. Really sweet. But you can tell she even knows, like, you're bullshitting me. What's wrong? Like, that's some sibling shit. She's back in all blue, and I will formally apologize to Kayla and Kavik. I still think Kavik's up to something. If they announce that they're doing another season and we're going back to Alaska, Kavik's up to something. And I think that some of these little things will get answered if they do that. Like, who is catfishing Hank? It doesn't really matter, because he's dead, so you guys want to keep bringing it up. But the fact of the matter is, it does not add to the plot. So on screen, it doesn't make sense for us to even know. We can know, but we don't need to for the story. What did the catfish do that directly set up Hank's death or anything? Nothing, so none of it correlates. I'd like to know too. I'm right there with you guys. But fundamentally, you don't have to have it there, technically. Would it be nice to? Yeah. But we don't need that to get to A, B, C. But Kayla, I think you're just stressing for your marriage and whatnot. And they wanted us looking at you funny. But you finally accept what Pete is. You can accept both sides of him. You can love the sweet guy he was when he was a kid and love the man he is now doing the right thing. And that's what Kavik did with Navarro last episode. He's like, you're not going to stop me, she says. And he says, no. Because he knows exactly who she is as a person. I can't stop you. And if I do, who am I? I know who you are. And that is wrong to do, to try to change somebody. And Kayla makes the decision right there. I'm not going to do that. I want to be with Pete. I know he's a good man. We love that. We love that. We want Pete with his family, and the generational and cycles of trauma that he's breaking with not beating Darwin. And then, like I said, we have him taking out his dad, and then by the end of the finale, have him laying with his son. You're showing something by doing that, and I think it's beautifully done. And let's get real. Ford Escapes ain't making it through that snow. Get real. I built Fords for 10 years. They ain't getting through that. An Escape ain't getting through that shit. I love that Pete drove Leah home and not the body-holding car. And then we go back and he opens up the thing, and like I said, that's probably exactly what his dad was doing with the Annie K case, just differently. Driving that car around with a body in the back. But this was a really cool shot, is when Pete's driving out with the bodies, and they pan up, and the power goes out. So now we know the power's out. Now we know it's getting cold. Now here's little things and details that they paid attention to, like when Jodie Foster passes out, and then she wakes up and we can see her breath. Obviously she's been asleep for a long time, that all the heat is gone in this room. But I don't see anybody talking about that. I don't see anybody going, wow, the attention to detail with time here, even though it's so warped for us because it's nighttime the whole time. I don't see anybody praising that. I just see people going, I don't like it because a page on Twitter told me not to. Like, shut up. I really got worried for Navarro for a minute because the way Clark is running through Salal and locks Jodie Foster into that room, it kind of looks, he's looking at her like, sorry, but whatever. And like, I thought he was going to do something real gross to Navarro. And this is something we never get, and I loved this. The way they showed female rage in this, thank you. Not all of us are going to cry in a corner. Not all of us are going to go, will you please come and help me? Some of us are going to go off the deep end. Some of us are going to hurt somebody. Some of us are going to swing. Like, we're human beings too. And we don't get that depicted in media. We don't. And we really don't get this is, oh my God. And throughout the series, they've been setting this up of going, Navarro can step to dudes and hold her own for sure. But if you get ganged up on, it doesn't matter who you are, you're probably going to lose. You know what I mean? Especially a girl versus guys. But we've seen Navarro take dudes out one-on-one since the opening of the first episode. So when Clark hits her over the head, I'm like, oh shit. But then we come around and she's just wailing on him. I'm like, oh, let's go. Because we never get that. Normally, the second you see a woman get hit or taken out or punched by a dude in something, what do we think? Dunzo. It's a wrap for them. And to have her not be Dunzo and be like, let's go, and Jodie Foster telling her to get off of him was great. I love that. We never get that. Oh my God. I was like, oh shit, she's got the jump on Clark. Fuck you, Clark. And then I have a note that says her hair is absolutely beautiful, which it was. Do you know, like, I have the most boring stoner hair ever. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't matter how much product I put in it. So anybody that has anything going on in their hair, I'm like, I really love that. And man, what a beautiful head of hair. I'm like, damn, look at the whimsical. They established that we have no Wi-Fi, no radio. We're stuck out here. Storm's that bad. Now, remember what we said about New Year's Eve on our live stream and in the last review. New Year's Eve is very symbolic of restart, rebirth, renew. Let's wipe the slate clean. Voldemort's born on New Year's Eve because of death and coming back. And time is a flat circle. Dark Tower in this motherfucker, okay? I talked about this on TikTok. I talked about it on all my social media. This scene when Navarro's not taking his shit, that manipulating shit. Now, if you're a man or woman in an abusive relationship, chances are they are probably emotionally manipulative and abusive first. And psychologically. That's how you end up getting physically abused and accepting it. It doesn't happen overnight. You don't walk in and go, hey, first date, I got punched in the mouth, let me stay. That's not what happens. But normally, in media, if someone's beating on women or beating them up, they kind of just go, oh, stop, whatever. No, the way he's trying, I loved her, and Navarro, and you're like, oh, Clark, what? And then Navarro turns and is like, tell me again you loved her, you piece of shit. Say it again. Tell me again how much you loved her while you killed her. Tell me. Love that, because that's facts here. Getting beat up, being harmed, being emotionally manipulated or abused or psychologically or whatever is not love, no matter what they tell you. That's what any abuser does. Oh, but I just, because I love you so much and I just care so much and I'm a monster and I'm bad. Then why are you beating me up if you love me? Why are you kicking me in the head? It's all fine and dandy until you end up accidentally hitting me too hard, right? And then you're putting my body in a ditch somewhere, right? That's when you cut off loving me because you're killing me. So I loved her doing that. And the way Kelly Reese is acting in this, damn, and just looking at him like, you are nothing. And we don't get that as women often. We don't get that in our media, of this woman looking at a man going, you are under my control now, physically, everything. I'm the predator, you're the prey. We don't get that because 99.9% of the time in the real world and in film or TV, the dude is the predator, not the woman. So this woman going like, I can do whatever I want to you. And the way that her face changes of just the audacity on you to sit here and say you loved this woman is nasty. When she starts duct taping the headphones in and is on loop, motherfucker. Every word she said, I loved it. That Danvers is looking at her like, are we going too far? I'm going to put her in check if I think this goes too far, but honestly, I think she's in the right with all this. And they're torture. We're leaving him alone. We're keeping him awake. We're blaring things in his ears. It was great. Now, here's what I mean about symbolic stuff. I know as much as you guys do, but when the oranges and stuff fall, I still think those represented death. And throughout this episode, we have Navarro and Danvers both giving up to die. When Danvers said that about her sister, saying she gave up, I was like, damn, Jodie Foster, rude. But then I was like, you got a lot of nerve if you give up right here. And you can tell that when Jodie Foster goes into the water and comes up, and Navarro's trying to bring her back, she does not start breathing until after she sees Holden in that memory. And she chooses to fight and live. Navarro, same thing. She gets called out onto the ice thinking it's one thing, and I think she's always thought the spirit side and this whole side of her was negative, and she was afraid what to find out, that she's finally awake and learning that and getting her name, which I didn't think we would get, and I love that it wasn't said now. I love that it was this thing about the sun coming up and restart, and she'll be the good in the dark that comes for the evil. I loved it so much, but in her, she's thinking, I'm going out here to die. Danvers thinks she's going out there to die, but then she realizes, no, this thing that has been calling me isn't a negative, it's a positive, and I can live. And that's the whole meaning of Rust, Cole, and Marty. When Rust realizes having friends and family and loved ones is not a weakness. Losing people sucks. It's hard, and saying goodbye is even harder, like Jodie Foster had to do here officially with her son. But it sucks. But that love and everything is still there and always will be, and it's what makes us stronger together instead of being apart. We are stronger together. Even if you think, I got hurt this one time or I lost this person, I don't ever want to feel that again, so you close yourself off. That's not a good thing to do, and that's what Rust learns in season 1. This season has very much been about alone. Are we alone? I don't want to be alone, and you're not alone, and Navarro realizes that, and Danvers realizes that both times in this episode. So I think the orange did represent death, and they were like, we'll die for this cause. But then they realize, I want to live. I want to keep fighting. I want to keep going. And they find a reason to do that. And it was beautifully done. It doesn't mean that the oranges didn't symbolize death. They did, but they chose to ignore that and change. And I thought it was beautiful. Her finding out her name was beautiful. Nicole on the live stream, she goes into detail about this. She took notes and everything. She found out all the tattoos that only the women have them. Yeah, and that's a real thing. And this creator went to Alaska, and she was staying with the tribe, and they explained all this stuff to her, and they showed her their customs and things like that. And she took a lot of time here. But do you guys want to know what they specifically mean? Warriors. Women that had those were warriors that protected their people. That's sweet. That's awesome. I love that. So I don't know who the person in her vision was. Was it her mom? Was it her sister? Was it just a spirit from before? Or was she just making shit up like Rust Cole was? But we seem to critique her more than him. We find out there was so much hate because they worked so hard on this damn thing. And the Annie K kill is rough. That was a hard watch. And we were saying that. It was a group. I didn't think the scientists, I'll admit that first. But we knew it was a group. But man, do you want to know why this one's super rough? It's because this is normally how it goes, which is sad. It's somebody you know. It's somebody you think cares about you that ends up doing some shit to you. And it's this terrible, awful thing. Annie K fighting to the end, good for you. Love them showing that. But this wasn't a big, scary man with scars on his face creeping out of the woods to get you. This was the dude you were going on dates with. This is the dude you were staying with on weekends. And he says that. She was trying to see somebody else. I think Annie K was playing his ass. I think Annie K specifically wanted to infiltrate Salal and knew some shit's going on here. And I think she played your ass. That's what I think happened, Clark. Either way, they have Clark say, she met somebody else. That's the root of it, asshole. It's not this other stuff. It's you were mad she met somebody else. He glosses by that. He's like, oh, she met somebody else, but we were mad because she did this. And I'm sure they were mad about that. I'm sure that's what got her killed, but it was his excuse to offer. Don't get it twisted. This dude's still a monster. Cry all you want, asshole. Same thing with the fucking assholes online complaining about this. Cry all you want, baby. Cry all you want, whiny little baby. In the other seasons, it's always this big bad. In this one, it was her man and somebody we knew and these scientists, and it's gross and it's nasty and they're ganging up. It doesn't matter man or woman. If you got to have 9 people on one, you're the worst. And somebody was saying that in the live stream, and they're not wrong. I've used drills for a very long time at my job, and they are sharp. They're sharp, but do you know how hard you got to push to stab somebody with a drill bit? That ain't a knife. That you got to be pushing. You got to be really throwing it down with somebody to do that. I was like, damn, damn, this is, and like I said, it's even rougher because it's this intimate, sad, awful thing of, these are people I know and care about doing this to me, not some monster that came out of the woods and snatched me. The betrayal. And she fights to the end, and I liked them showing that. And then she says it again, tell me again that you loved her. Tell me again that you loved her while you killed her, asshole. Tell me again your bullshit that you're trying to make yourself believe. Because everybody, say it with me, love doesn't do that. Love doesn't hit you. Love doesn't stab you with a drill. Love doesn't suffocate you. Love doesn't do that. That's not love. Somebody saying that it's love is lying. What does Jodie Foster say because she's her friend and she knows who her friend is deep down? You're not going to stop me? No. But Navarro makes that choice because she's our hero now. Before, she did. She shot Wheeler point blank in the head, which she should, just like Marty did with Rust with those meth cookers. It's the same thing. That dude needed to get put down. Navarro did the right thing back then. But this time, we have the opportunity to do things by the book, to get it on file, to do it right. And I'm going to make that choice now. Before, I might have went off the rails and just shot you point blank. Now I know what the right thing here to do is. But then Clark walks out on the ice, he gets frozen, Navarro messes with the generator, and we realize that's a thing here, and that's what's making things glitch out. Once again, there's a real reason for all that, not paranormal. Danvers is pissed that Navarro let him walk onto the ice and die. I just think Navarro said, I might not have shot him in the head, but I wasn't about to fight and stop him from doing that. I really wasn't, and it's like, whatever. But also now we've lost this, we've lost a statement, this, that, and the other thing. But then we find out she got the video later on. Before he dies, though, we get the time is a flat circle shit. And it was Annie who did it. It was Annie who killed them. It was Annie who did this. It was Annie who did that. And it's like, we could take it that way. And the same way that they used sound in this whole season was really well done, but the way they also used music, where the screeching and the wailing and the sounds that came in, it's like, is that what we're hearing? Or is that the music? Is that what we're hearing? Or is that just the wind? Is that this? Because it did sound like a polar bear. And that would make not only Pete's first theory that he says to Danvers correct about the bodies when he says maybe a polar bear got in and did this and that and scared them out on the ice and what the doors don't lock correctly or something. They're in the ice rink when he says it. He's like, the doors don't lock correctly when that happens and maybe a bear got in and that could be a thing here. And Danvers is like, no, that's not it. And we find out, no, that's not it, but it kind of does sound like a bear when he's in the hatch doing the Desmond from Lost. You could argue that bears have always represented mom. That's why the term mama bear is a thing. You know what I mean? That's a real term, and there's a reason for that. Bears have, Brave, in the Disney movie, bears have always represented moms. Maybe he thought he was hearing a bear, and from what we heard through the hatch, it did sound a little weird, like a wild animal, and it wouldn't make Pete's theory totally wrong with these women, because that's the representation here, is that the bear represents these women or these moms fighting back just to keep the whole community safe. So that's what I mean about abstract here, where it's like, I see what you did there, but I can see where people are going to go, what, huh? Where it's like, no, it wasn't exactly what Pete said, but metaphorically it kind of is, through, like, what's representing what here. And you could argue all of these things. I'm just giving you my take. But he said, like, Annie K will be in that cave forever, screaming and yelling. She's the one who sent her spirit to kill them. Time is a flat circle. It could have been a day. It could have been weeks. Who knows? We don't live in time correctly. Pulling the Rust Coal, a.k.a. the Dark Tower. Everything is the Dark Tower. It's Roland to Gilead. If you've read the Dark Tower, if you've read Stephen King, this is a concept. That's what got me going about it being the same thing. Because I was like, that Carcosa sign is identical to the Crimson King in the Dark Tower. And then they said the time is a flat circle thing. And I was like, okay, Roland to Gilead. Spoilers for the Dark Tower. Roland, our main character, it opens up in the first book. Now, there's several books in this series, and this is why a lot of people hate it, but also I was like, okay, all right, Rust Cole. Our character Roland, it opens with one of the greatest openings of a book of all time, which is the man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. Bad is out there, evil's out there, and good is following. Good is going to fight it. And they do. They do fight it. And we go through 7 books, and every other book in the Stephen King universe, if you want to connect them, and then you get to the end, right? And he's squaring off with the Crimson King, right? And the Crimson King starts saying, well, how does it feel knowing that you're going to do this over and over and over again, Roland? Ha ha ha. How does it feel knowing that you're going to watch your friends die over and over and over again and yada yada yada? And Roland's like, I'll keep doing it because it's the right thing to do. I don't care. And then it ends, and the book series ends with the same sentence it started with in the first one, which is, the man in black fled across the desert and the gunslinger followed, because Roland is repeating and then he doesn't remember. So he's going to do the journey all over again. How many times has he been doing this journey? Time's all messed up. Time is a flat circle. A world that's moved on. But yeah, no, we got Clark saying the wild stuff about Annie. Time is a flat circle. Power's out. This is where I was like, oh my god, they really are going off the rails. Is when Navarro goes back inside and then we see Clark again. Because I was like, oh shit. Are they really getting crazy, or does he have a twin brother? And then she's just seeing stuff. So I was like, okay, we're back to where we were. We cut to Rose and Pete. I loved all of this. I really did. We established that Rose is good at taxidermy and knows a body, obviously, from when we first see her with the wolf in the beginning. So obviously she knows what she's doing here, or she's been throwing bodies underwater for a very long time. But like I was saying before, you bury your own. You do it yourself. When Navarro is the one who pours the ashes down and she gives her that moment, it's the same thing. That's why the tradition of throwing the dirt onto a casket is still a thing, because back in the day it was it's like Harry Potter burying Dobby, and that's such a big deal. They're like, without magic? What? And he's like, yeah, the old way. That's the way you do it. That's the way you show respect here. But I did love her saying, like, I'm not going to make you do this, but you're the one who's got to put him in. And I loved his and Rose back and forth. That's the one thing I'm really upset about. We didn't find out who Rose was. That's some bull. We're standing by that it's Rust's mom, and you can watch the live streams for all that. Notice there's something odd going on here, because I was waiting for Rose to turn and go, you remind me a lot of my son, and we're going to be like, aw, shit. But the conversation they have is really, it can apply to a lot of things. When she says, you thought that part was hard? Wait till what comes next. And it's like, that could apply to, you killed your dad, you're going to have to deal with that, or you're going to have to face that, or whatever it is, or it could apply to just saying goodbye. And a lot of people are doing that in this episode. Danvers is facing her son passing, saying goodbye officially. Navarro is saying goodbye to her mom and getting these messages through, or maybe she'll keep getting them, who knows, but it's like, I opened the door, now I'm okay, and Rose brings that up, close the door. Don't leave anything up to chance or for a reason for them to come back to talk to you, Pete. Close that door, close that chapter. You can take it figuratively or literally, but when she says how hard everything is that comes next, it's like, yeah, because do you want to know what? When you lose people, it doesn't, whenever people say it gets easier, it doesn't, it never gets easier. You learn to live with it. Holy shit. When Navarro brings up Holden finally to Navarro, and the way Jodie Foster goes, I am not merciful. I'm like, oh my God, thank you. I love this so much. We don't get this. And that's a mom. I say this all the time. Moms are scary as shit. Moms are scary as hell, because they'll do anything. They'll wait 5 years, they'll wait a year, they'll do anything they have to if you hurt their baby. I'm telling you right now, I remember we were watching Game of Thrones and Cersei blew up the Sept, and I was like kind of joking but serious, and I looked over at my mom, she's watching, and I go, do you want to, I was like, you'd do that in a second. And I go, you'd blow up 1 billion people if you knew you'd get like the 4 or 5 that hurt us. And she just went, she didn't even look at me. She, without batting an eye, she goes, no, yeah, I would. And I knew she meant that. 1,000%. You hurt my baby, I don't give a shit. Now it's on, and I'll do whatever I have to get back. I'll massacre cities for it. I'll destroy family bloodlines for it. I don't care. You hurt my baby. And that's what makes a mom scary, dude. That's what makes a mom scary. I'm not saying that dads can't be, because they can be, but you swing, you fight. And I love men for that, when they're just like, no, stop. And they fight back or something when the cause is calling for it. But women will sit back and strategize. Be like, no, I'm going to ruin you. I loved her fight. I am not merciful. I am not. You know who I am. And you know that I mean it when I say I'll blow your goddamn head off if you bring my kid up again. That's some mom rage. That's past female rage. That's mom rage. Kind of like, it's funny, a mother bear? Weird. She freaks out about Holden, and then later on in the episode, when Navarro does this to her, that we've been seeing in that vision with her and Holden happen, she realizes, oh my God, you're not bullshitting. And when she's saying, she realizes Navarro's not BSing me about that. Faces the flashback, and she faces the accident, and she says goodbye in her own way. When we realized it was, I see you, that can be taken so many ways. Like, I'm proud of you, Mom. I'm watching you, Mom. I'm with you, Mom. I got your back, Mom. Like, I see you can mean so much, or it can just mean playing peekaboo. That's the great thing about this. And like I said, think abstract, not just, I see you. It doesn't always just mean that. Oh, but this is the part I really liked with Rose and Pete, was after their conversation, you see, it's the first. Restarting, renew. We're going to do this over. We're going to do it right. Not only that, it's odd, because Rust and Marty had this big monologue. I don't know if you guys remember it, about stars and good versus evil and light versus dark in the sky. Like, that's a whole thing in the first season. It's kind of important. But when we first see Pete going out on the ice with the bodies, it's dark as hell, and they're not showing the sky in the shot. Then we see, a little farther back, a ton of stars in the sky. And as him and Rose are sitting there having their conversation, the northern lights come up. Dark's got a lot of territory. Yeah, but once there was only dark. If you ask me, it looks like light's winning. This is when we finally go and talk to that lady, the crab women. Oh my God, hashtag crab women. And we find out they did everything. I loved that. I loved it. And I don't care what anybody says. Was it a little over the top and crazy? Yeah. Did it make sense? Yeah. And throughout this whole season, we've had men ganging up in groups, the scientist, the bucket boyfriend. We've had groups of men ganging up all over the place and doing things strategically, or harming women or murdering them. But now it's crazy that these women banded together? Why is that crazy? But you'll accept all these other things. Is it because we are taught from a young age to not get together and band together and stand together? Is it because we're taught to tear each other apart and tear each other down? Both men and women, 2 women, both? Like, is that why? We're not used to seeing it, so it's hard for your brain to compute that? But when the men do it, you don't even question it, right? I loved it. I loved it. I loved them tearing it up and going through there. It was great. But one thing that they did amazing was when that woman yelled at them outside and said, take your clothes off. The way she gutturally says that shit. You don't hear that said to men a lot. You hear that said to women. You hear someone tell a woman to take their clothes off. So a woman telling men to do that shit, the way she did, so matter-of-factly and straight to the point with a gun pointing at, take your fucking clothes off. I loved it. I loved it. I loved that. And then she says, we didn't put them out there with hypothermia. They could have made it back. They didn't. Something got them out there. So it's like, ooh, was it that or was it something else? And it's like, either way, that's who got them out on the ice. That's who caused this to happen. I love that. I loved when they said, yeah, it's just a story though. And then people are asking about the tongue. Now, I feel like they didn't explain that well. They say a line of dialogue of that Hank probably did it, but they never say he did do it. And then I was thinking, well, if the women did it to get them back to reopening this case, maybe. I don't know how they got it, but who knows? And maybe it was a symbolic thing of saying, well, now finally, Annie K's story can be told. And we kept looking at it as keep your mouth shut. And it probably did start off that way, but then maybe it turned into, well, now we can finally let Annie's story be told. So it was either the women or Hank, but they do have a line of dialogue that says, it was probably Hank that did that to scare people off and scare them away and send a message that he's the one who probably cut it out originally. Because remember, the tongue was gone when they found the body years before. Then they found it, finally, in the opening of this season. So somebody had it, and it was probably Hank. But they should have had a line of dialogue that said, we had Hank do that. When she says the same story, nothing ever happens. Facts. But also, Rust says something similar. This is a world where nothing gets solved. Crazy. When he says it, we glorify it. When she says it, we're going, this season's stupid. Weird to me. Odd. So we did find out what happened to Annie K. We do find out there's a big sprawling thing behind this. I do think there's a lot more to this, and they're going to announce, not only are we doing another season, but we've already got it going in production, or we had it written before this one. I do think this fell short in places. They didn't establish things clearly for certain things, and I think they should have. I think they should have tied up more loose ends a little bit better. The majority, this was good. This was good. This was fundamentally good. And I loved it. And maybe I am biased, but it's okay to be biased and enjoy things, assholes! But then we show Danvers being interrogated by these other officers, right? And first they're going real hard about Hank's murder. And this is another thing they needed to definitively say. But they're going hard about Hank's murder. And then Pete comes in. And if he's standing at my right side and working with me as son, you know I must not have done anything to him because he's agreeing with it. And they're like, okay, and they kind of see Pete and then they back off. That's not the one they needed to be clear about. This is what they needed to be clear about. Then they start going in on Navarro this, Navarro that, and it's weird how Clark died, huh? And she's like, yeah, it is weird. They're saying that Navarro did that, and they want to investigate her without saying it. And I wish they would have just been a little more clearer about that. Because my mom even was going like, oh no, she's going to commit suicide. And I was like, no, she's not. Now, like I said, writing and fundamentally with this formula, it does not make sense for this character to do that now. 30 minutes ago it did. Now it doesn't. So that's not what she's doing. And then we realize, oh no, she packed up her shit and now Danvers is covering for her and she's staying at some cabin somewhere. And I want to rewatch the season and hear if somebody says a line of dialogue of like, I have a cabin somewhere. Because that's another one that it's like, you could have easily fixed that. I think they didn't trust them to do 8 episodes. I think they said, okay, this is passable, good enough. We'll see if people like it, but we know they're really not. And they're really going to come hard for it because they always do. And they're the worst. But let's just do 6 and call it a day. And let's do that. I don't know if we fully trust you. And I understand that, with the creator leaving and things like that, to do 8, but we'll try it. And I think they did a great job, but I do think that's why certain things were cut. I do think that's why we lost certain things, but you could have just had a line of dialogue that said, oh, you know, so-and-so has a cabin, or like, you know, Pete's fixing up that old cabin or wants to buy that property just at one point in the show, and they might have. But that's what I mean here. We can only go off of what they show us and what we hear. That is storytelling with film. Danvers go to Navarro's house, and she finds the polar bear, and it's cleared out. We see the mark of the cross that used to be hanging there, just like Rust Cole's apartment. Find out before Navarro dipped out that she got a video of Clark saying a whole bunch of stuff that Danvers could use. She left the toothbrush for Kovic to say, like, just know I'm out there. But obviously, these other officers want to interrogate her, and Danvers doesn't trust it and isn't going to let it happen. But I do think Navarro's like, I found this other side of me with my indigenous name. That's a symbolic thing. It's not just figuring out your name. It's, I'm whole now, and I know who I am as a person, and now I'm going to go find myself in that, whatever that may be. And my friend's got my bag and is covering for me, because my friend has my damn bag, and I love that. We see Pete with his son. It's wrapped up pretty great, but remember what they've said throughout this. Nobody ever really leaves Ennis. Those Alaskan girls always come back. If we take girls out of that sentence, both of those seem like, hey, Rust, aren't you going to come back? So like I said, I won't be surprised if by the end of the week we get a update from HBO that says not only are we doing another season, it's already written or partially written, and McConaughey and Woody Harrelson are signed on. There's no way you can have this much stuff and not do that, because yeah, there were things left loose, but for the main part, we did get to know everything, but you left enough there that it's like, we could figure things out later on, and there's no way you don't want to do that, HBO. It's your biggest thing. And I'm Abby with MotorCityNerds. I'm on OF, I'm on TikTok, I'm on all the things down below. Check it out. Check out my live streams. Check out the other stuff. I'm sad this is over, but I really enjoyed this. And I don't want to tell people, like, you're dumb, you're an idiot, you don't know nothing. Because not everybody's going to know film and shit. Or, like, the arc of a character or how to write something. Like, not everybody's super obsessed with it like I am. So I'm like, at least attempt to go, okay, maybe I should keep my ears open to learn something. Whatever that may be. Whether it's me yelling or whatever. But at least give things a chance to go, maybe I should listen to somebody when they talk. Maybe I should think outside like myself.